Welcome to the channel, everybody. So it's that time again, time for another Marvel Contest of Champions guide to get you through another level of Act 8.1. As a matter of fact, we're going to be tackling 8.1.6 today, so the first major boss of Act 8. We're going to get out of the way, get you that much closer to that Valiant title. Let's go ahead and jump in here, take a look at the team that I took in, the path I took, the nodes that you're going to have to deal with, who's on the path, and then, of course, how to get through the first corrupted boss of Act 8. So right off the bat here, you can see I brought in a full mutant synergy team, whereas that, of course, Apocalypse is the linchpin of the team and has the ability to horseman anybody, of course, especially with having Cable there, so that we only have to win one fight with Apocalypse to be able to do so, or be able to take him at full ramp all the way through the path. Let's go ahead and get in there, take a look at what I did, and see how this sets us up a little bit better. Now, of course, on the path here, we are going to have a few nodes to deal with. First one being Seeing Red. Mutant attackers reduce the potency of all bleed debuffs by 90%. Also, if you happen to throw a special, you will remove all bleed effects from you as well. When this happens, the ability accuracy is increased by 100%. When a mutant attacker removes bleed effects or is immune to any of the effects, they also gain a passive fury, which you can actually increase your attack by 35% per stack of fury you have active. And you can have up to 10 stacks. So you can see real quickly how being immune or or purifying those bleed debuffs can actually turn around and benefit you greatly. Nice thing is like I said, you can remove them with a special, or having champions such as Iceman, who is bleed immune, or Colossus, who is bleed immune, or even Apocalypse, who becomes bleed immune, could easily stack up in your favor and make these fights go a lot faster. You also are going to be dealing with Adrenaline Rush. The attacker gains 100% damage reduction at all times, scaling with their current adrenaline. Adrenaline is gained by being struck, so keep in mind that occasionally you are going to have to take a few hits, but it is going to make you stronger in the process of doing so. Also, you'll have Hold the Line, which the attacker gains 80% block proficiency at all times, scaling with their current adrenaline. So again, the more adrenaline you have, the more that you will be able to take. You're also going to have to deal with a few other nodes on this path, including Caltrips, which obviously every time you dash back will give you a bleed debuff, unless obviously you're immune, which is another great way to stack those fury charges. Also, with acclamations, for every 5 hits on your combo meter, mutant attackers purify all bleed, incinerate, and cold snap debuffs, and gain 10% of a bar of power for every one of them that they remove. You'll also have escalation. The defender gains fury passively every second, increasing their base attack by 5%. But with having that damage reduction and block proficiency increases from taking hits, as they're increasing their damage, you're decreasing it. Between all the other bleed effects and everything else, you can actually get to a point that you can walk through this path fairly simple. Just make sure you bring in some of your top mutants. Lastly, you do have Coolant Leak. Now, what this does is only affect robotic attackers, but if you do decide to bring in a robotic attacker, instead of them taking bleed, they will take an incinerate debuff. So do keep that in mind. But again, my recommendation is just go with a full mutant team. Now let's go ahead and look at the path here. Obviously, we're going to start off with OG Punisher, followed by Spider-Man 2099, over to Mole Man. From Mole Man, we are going to go over to America Chavez, down to Jabari Panther, and finally over to White Mags before heading to the boss island. This is the final boss of Act 8.1, so there is only one choice. You do get the Corrupted Black Widow. Now, she is a little bit of a different beast altogether. First off, you are going to be dealing with the 4 phases again, as we have in the past. So do keep in mind that the first phase will last you from 100 to 81%. From 80 to 41% is the second phase. The third phase is going to be 40 to 6%, and the final phase will be the last 5%. For each of these phases will depend on what special she needs to throw to activate her trap, and also what moves you need to perform to push her into these traps. In phase one, all you'll need to do is bait out the SP1s, and after the trap becomes active, push her in with any attack. In phase two, it will switch over to needing to bait out SP2s. Now, this will be a little bit more difficult because you'll have to be careful not to bait out the SP1 while pushing her to the SP2. But at this point, it does become a little bit harder to push her into the traps because you will need to do so with either heavies or special attacks. These are the only ones that will actually push her into the trap. Do be careful that you do not land yourself into the trap. Once she is trapped, she does take more damage, and this is how you go ahead and get her down quickly. In phase 3, we are back to the SP1. Now on the SP1 there, you will be able to push her into the trap, but only by throwing specials or heavies, as we had to in phase 2. So that won't be a big deal, but it will be one of those things that you're going to want to make sure that you have a special ready as soon as she throws the SP1 in phase 3, so that you can back her up and then throw a special to lock her into that trap. In the final phase, you'll want to make sure that you have 10 prowess buffs built up. She is going to go ahead and consume your prowess buffs, but for every one she consumes, it will decrease her corrupted armor by 10%. So once you get all 100% of the corrupted armor off, that last little bit of damage will take you absolutely nothing to do, and you can go ahead and finish off that last 5% real quickly. You'll see that was the only part of the fight that we really didn't have too much of a problem with. But let's go ahead and get in and take a look and see how the path went. And then I'll revisit it for the boss. We'll look at the phases a little bit closer once we get over there. Okay, guys, let's go ahead and take a look at this the fight against Black Widow Corrupted here. Okay, you can see the trap was set there, but you do have to wait a few seconds for it to become active. The amount of time that you'll have to wait each phase does vary, so do keep in mind, watch the timer, wait for it to be activated. You can see here, once we get her into that trap there, she easily becomes very damageable. Now, you'll see a few different times here where I really felt like that I pushed her into the trap and that I should have been doing damage, but I ended up getting caught by it. But you can see we pushed her into that second phase that quickly. Really wasn't that hard to get into the second phase. Now this second phase can be a little bit more daunting because it does have to be the special or a heavy attack to be able to get her into that trap. So you got to be careful because you don't want to push yourself to an SP3 because then you can't push her into the trap off of it. And you also, like I said, need to be careful about the distance that it's going to push her on both the specials and the heavies. You can see she's got a trap active right now, but I can't get her pushed back to it. And at this point, I've already pushed her up so much that now I'm to another SP2, and she got us before I could get the trap active again and get her into it. So we are going to use a few potions and revives here, but to be truthful with you, it is just figuring out that timing, watching for the most important thing. Like I said, you saw the trap set there. Okay, you see the words trap set. You got the trap in right here in the middle of the screen with the very ominous looking spikes coming out of it. Now, just because the trap is set does not mean that you can go in. You need to watch that timer up in the upper right hand at the bottom row there, that green timer. Wait for that to run out, and then you'll get that trap active notice right there. Once you get that trap active notice, now is the time to start pushing her into that trap. Be very careful about how you're doing this, though. Like I said, make sure that you're using the correct moves and make sure that you're getting enough distance to push her into it. Also, be careful not to push yourself into an SP3 because that will negate it. You also have to be careful not to push her back to an SP2 before you can get this out so that she doesn't turn around and deactivate the trap as well. Now, the traps only last for so long, so you do have to be careful because now, again, I have to get her baited back up. Trap is set, trap is active, and just in time for me to get caught by it. So, we are going to have to go through this a few times to be able to go ahead and get her into that third phase. Like I said, that one is a little more daunting. It's actually not as bad, to be truthful with you, as far as comparatively to the second phase. First off, there's a larger health pool in the third phase, which isn't that big of a deal. But being able to drop it off of the SP1 so you don't have to worry about trying to push her to the SP2 can make a really big difference here. So just be careful on this. Get her through that, get her into those traps. That's when you're going to see the large numbers that you want to see. You'll see the biggest amount of damage coming off of her. It's the typical wounded phase that we've been dealing with since the Grandmaster. Now we got this trap set again. Trap's active. Now we're trying to get, there we go. And we overstepped it. Now we got to get back. And there you go. Now you can see those 20, 30, 40,000 point numbers just ticking off of her quickly and easily. Got her almost down through the second phase here. Got about 10% left that we got to do here, which is more difficult to do while she's got the corrupted armor up and not in the trap. But that's not going to be a problem because we are going to go ahead and get her into yet another trap. Bishop did do quite a bit of work here for me. Was really loving the way it was going. Like I said, there was a few times that I felt like that I got her more than into the trap without a problem. Now we are into phase 3 here, the last of 35% before getting that last little bit of actual fight down. So this is again, just build her up to the SP1, let her throw the SP1, set the trap, make sure the trap's active, and be careful not to land yourself in it. So let's go ahead and watch this last 30% come down, and then we'll talk about that last 5%. As you can see, I got myself caught by the trap more than a few times, which is something you have to be really careful about. Knowing where that trap is at all times can be a real pain. And, you know, sometimes it is one of those things. You saw it before there, where my SP1 pushed her over the trap and somehow landed me in it. Honestly, expect the next go of this will actually go a lot smoother. We're working our way back there right now. And we got lucky on that one, to be truthful with you. Um, and of course, we were running this one without being on my charger. So almost cost us the fight. Luckily enough, we had more than enough battery life to get through the rest of this. Now, one of the great things here with Bishop is, of course, he does build up prowess charges so easily that once we got her down to this last 5%, having enough prowess charges for her to consume off of us so that we could go ahead and get her corrupted armor off so that we could deal the damage was not really all that bad. As you can see, we're already down to 25 of the corrupted armor charges there. And there we go. She's below it. And this is all it's going to take, folks, is just dealing the last little bit of damage here. And she will go down. 2% left. We're at almost done. She has no corrupted armors left. And just need one good attack. And this is all that she wrote, boys and girls. And there you go, guys. That is 8.1.6 in the books. And that puts you another step closer to that Valiant title, just as we were when we got there ourselves. We're still working on that Valiant title ourselves because we do still have plenty of work left to do. But the rewards were absolutely fabulous, and a rank up materials and the possibility of a couple new 6 stars, or at least some SIG levels and some 7-star shards. Plus, those 6 stones are always helpful as well. So, guys, I hope this one definitely helped you get through it, gives you a little bit more confidence that you can, and shows you what you need to do. I hope that you are pushing every day to become a little bit better, because that's what we do. I hope everybody has a great day, a great night, and pulls a God tier champion soon. And I will see you back soon for the next one. And until then, love you guys. Peace out.